Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Two Dads Talking About Things podcast with your hosts, Jamel.
And Alex, how you going?
Very good. How are you?
Yeah, going quite well, thank you. First episode, is that what it is?
The very first.
Absolutely.
The Ep.1.
Ep.1 Foundations.
It's called Foundations.
Why is it called Foundations?
Because we're going to be talking about how we met.
Interesting.
How this came about. How we're fucking still sitting here today talking to each other. So I'll let you start it off.
Yeah, me started off?
Yeah, you started off. Yeah.
Where we thinking about going? About how we were established artists before we first met?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I'll put it like this. Yeah, we're looking about, 9 years ago, I think it is now. Almost a decade, goodness. Well, you know, me and Jamel were individual performing artists, and, you know, we went to we met at a poetry event held at a good old place, Mama Jumbo. Rest in peace. That was a wicked venue, wasn't it?
It was awesome, man.
It was awesome. It really was. It's a
Large
shame.
Space.
Yeah.
Beautiful people all the time.
That's right. It was it was definitely an attraction.
Yeah.
You know, it's a shame that's not around. But all loves and condolences. Anyway, we were performing individually at this event being held at Mama Jumbo. Draw Your Swords. I wonder if that's still around. But this event was hosting anyone and everyone. And I think that's what I liked the vibe about Draw Your Swords, was that it kind of brought anyone, everyone, and people drew their swords. They did poetry, there was spoken word, there was slam. You had rappers, you had some guy I think went up there and he did like a comedic song / poem sketch. I don't remember him as a person, but how he did it was just so funny, and I think we both talked about how it left a mark. It set a standard for the night. But yeah, we were both performing, and I think you went first, didn't you?
Yeah, we met each other through a few events, but the very first one, I was performing and you was performing. I believe it was open mic at that point. There was a special guest, but yeah, we were doing open mic, and I went up and I think I performed "Do You Believe," one of my greatest pieces that I've written, and I did it in poetry form. And I absolutely killed it.
You really did. You killed it. Poetry a cappella.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. So yeah, I did that, and then you was in the crowd, and you came up. I think you didn't come up after me, but you came up after another person, and you killed it too, man. But what was striking about you is that I'm not gonna say too much, but the clothes you were wearing matched the exact. It matched the personality to what you were talking about. It was just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that, what you were wearing that night.
Well, so I'll put it like this, plain and simple. While, you know me as Alex, my performing stage name is High Vision, or as my Spotify name is High X Vision. But at that time it was High Vision, and I'll explain a little bit more about the X. But yeah, I was called High Vision. I adopted the name myself, and it was because I used to go to poetry events most of the time after work, because they were held about 6, 7 in the evening, and normally I would finish at a decent time where I could get there to the event, and I'd still be in my work clothes. I was furniture removalist and deliveryman, and all day, wake up at the crack of dawn just to lift heavy furniture and do manly shit, as people might say. And then I'd be like, I'm going to go to the city and read some poetry. So it was kind of polarizing to some people, because in the poetry scene and slam poetry scene, you get a very while you do get a variety of people, you do have a large contingent of people who, they're a bit more on the left-leaning side of politics, a bit more on the socialist side, university, not kids, but university, young adults and people, of those types of opinions and values. And there was this big, burly, bald, goatee-having, white heterosexual male rocking up in his dirty high vis clothes, just doing his thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I actually, looked at myself and was like, this is how people do remember me. And I was like, yeah, my name's High Vision. So I remember I did this piece at that night, Draw Your Swords. And I was dressed up the exact same way I just described. And I think it left an impression on you. And, well, it must have, because that's why we're here today.
It did. Absolutely did. I was like, look at this mofo. Out of everybody, out of all the diversity of the people that were there, this guy was just shining bright. He was like a diamond in the rough. He was
quite literally,
in the yellow fucking high vis, in the high vis top, just ready for action. And he went up. I was just like, listen to his poetry. It was very moving. I can't remember the piece that you did, but everything that you write, bro, and I listen to, it's very insightful. That's some real shit. And I'm pretty sure that piece that you did that night opened my eyes. I was like, shit. Even though everybody was like doing some real shit, yours was just like, that's dope. And it was unexpected. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting you to go up there and fucking just be a cunt. But you wasn't. It was the total opposite. I was like, shit, there's some real art here in fucking South Australia.
Well, I do know the piece that I did is one of the most famous but controversial pieces as well. I don't know if I want to divulge though now, because that kind of gives way too much. Maybe we'll see how this conversation goes. I might elaborate on it a tiny bit, but it was a striking piece, and I'm proud of it. I got it locked away somewhere. I have to go find it.
Do you know it by heart or?
No way. I used to know. Like I was reflecting the other day, and I was a bit like, I used to know some of my poetry piece off by heart.
Yeah.
Everyone be using their phones and paper. I used to really endeavour to make sure I could get up there and just go with the flow. And sometimes I did it just off the beat, Sometimes it's where you can hit people, You just like, don't let them know that you don't know. Just keep going, Don't let people know that you've stuffed up or anything. And, most of the time, it's just your inner self that you're projecting, If you stuffed up, don't let them know you stuffed up.
What's amazing about the poetry crowd as well is they know you'll make mistakes. They know that because they know they make mistakes as well.
That's right. As
and
an
that's
artist,
the naturality in it.
That is art.
Yeah. The art is imperfection. And it's always about perfecting imperfections, but you'll never perfect it. There will always be slight imperfections in it. And that's the beauty in it. That's the beauty in poetry.
Yeah. But where you make those imperfections, that's where, when you do your next piece or whatever you do better in that realm.
Yeah.
And then you keep making better content.
100%.
I owe a lot to poetry, truly did a lot for me, and it helped me cultivate friendships and brotherhoods that I have to this day, which I share with you.
Yeah.
Hence that night. That's why we were talking about that night, the foundations of what we're doing right now. If we literally didn't cross paths that night and perform as good as we did, because also I approached you out of like, I could work with this dude, like, of course, like, you're going to cultivate a friendship and relationship. When I first saw you perform, I was like, that's my guy, and I didn't think it would be the opposite way, that you would think the same. You know what I mean? That what I'd done left an impression that you wanted to do something with me, because I don't know. I just didn't always I didn't think of myself that way when I did stuff. But yeah, well, what about you? What about your thoughts that night and how it transpired?
I was amazed at everybody. Everybody had brought an amazing piece. And I think when you get to those, like, when it comes to art, people aren't just, it's not just scribbles. This comes from the heart. This comes from their